Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we got another case, and before I get started, I want to give my sincerest condolences to the victim family and friends. I also want to state that all the information found in this video was found on the internet and or social media. Let's get to the video. So this crime happens on April 26th of 2016 when 8 members of the Roden family are found murdered in 3 trailers and a camper on the family property in Pike County, Ohio. Have y'all heard about this case? If so, drop down in the comments below and let me know when you first got introduced to the case. If not, keep listening. The victims are Christopher Sr., who was 40, his ex-wife Dana Lynn, who was 37, their 3 kids, Clarence, known as Frankie, he was 20, their daughter Hannah Mae, she was 19, their other son Christopher Jr., who was known as Chris, was the youngest victim, who was 16, Billy brother Kenneth, who was 44, and Billy and Keith's cousin Gary, who was 38. The last victim that was found was Hannah Hazel Gilly, who was 20, and she was Frankie's fiance. They were all found with gunshot wounds to the head, and some of the victims were found with multiple gunshot wounds. It was reported that a total of 32 shots were fired. There was also 3 kids found at the crime scene, but they were all found unharmed, thank goodness, so we won't bring them up in the story. The victims were found by Dana Lynn's sister Bobby Joe on April 22nd of 2016 when she came to the property to help the family feed the animals. At the beginning of the investigation, the police and the BCI, the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, found out that the Roden family ran a cockfighting operation or a chicken fighting operation and that they were growing marijuana on the property. So from the beginning, the police knew that there had to be more than one suspect because of where the bodies were found and the locations of the homes on the property. They also knew that it had to be somebody that was close to the family based off of them having animals and dogs that reportedly were vicious, and if they didn't know you, that they would attack you. However, they did advise the remaining Roden family to be careful. This case is reported to be the most costly and complex investigation in Ohio's history. Even with that, it took 2 years for the police to make an arrest, and it was basically because the residents decided to just stop talking. So about a year after the murders in 2017, Geneva Roden, who is the matriarch of the family, she did a plea on television for anybody with information to come out and speak with the police. So just to paint a picture for you guys, Pike County is not very big. It's about 27,000 people there. It's very rural, very family-oriented, farmland. I get the sense that it's one of those all for one for all type of places. You grew up there, so you just live there place. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. One of those real like back home, small town feelings. Which brings us to the Wagner family. And as you can see from the screen, it's George III, George IV, Edward, and their mother Angela. Now it's reported that the Wagner family did everything together. And when I say everything, I mean everything together. They lived together, they worked together, they homeschooled together, they put their money together, and they voted on everything together. So when Hannah Mae Roden starts to date Edward Jake Wagner, everything is fine. Now, I did see reports that she was 13 when they started dating, and I also saw reports that she was 15 when they started dating. And Jake was reported to be older than her at the time that they started dating. I cannot pin down how old he was. So I know me personally, I wouldn't want one of my siblings to be dating somebody so much older in age. So when I say everything is fine, I simply mean that I didn't find any legal documentation from the Roden family in order to stop the relationship. So the relationship lasts for 3 years. And during that time, Hannah becomes pregnant with her and Jake's child. So their relationship is reported to be on again and off again. And Hannah then becomes pregnant with a second child, which is later found out to be Charlie Gilly, which is the other Hannah, the other victim in the case, her brother. So during the time of Hannah's murder, the baby was only 5 days old, and Jake was out here doing an investigation, giving interviews saying it was a 50-50 chance that he was the child's father. I think the paternity of the second child, as well as Hannah allegedly cheating on Jake, was what caused this tragedy, because it's reported that the Wagner family loved Hannah. And that's just my opinion, but I say that because in December of 2015, Jake is trying to get Hannah to sign some false documents that he'll have sole custody of their daughter. And he somehow hacks into her Facebook account and he reads messages that state that she refuses to give up custody to her child, that they would have to kill her first. And they spent 4 months planning on this murder. So what we didn't know at the time, but what we do know now is they spied on the Roden family. They bought gun magazines. They bought brass catchers. They bought material to make gun silencers. And they bought cell phone jammers so that the Roden family would not be able to call out for help. We ultimately know what happens in 2016, and up until 2017, the Wagner family acted just as concerned as the regular public, like a grieving family. They did interviews, he pretended to be a doting father. He even went so far to start a GoFundMe account, knowing that he committed the crime. When the investigation began to turn to the Wagner family, they decided to pick up and move to Alaska. They even took the daughter that Jake and Hannah shared. And that's where Jake gets married to his current ex-wife, who is set to testify against the family. But they end up moving back to Ohio because they ran out of money in Alaska. So in November of 2018, all four of the Wagner family members were picked up for this crime. Now, the public didn't get a lot of information on this case because this case has a gag order on it, and all the court documents are sealed. So for 2 years, the Wagner family was sitting in jail waiting on trial. However, in April of 2021, Jake decided to take a plea deal. He pleads guilty to 8 counts of aggravated murder, gun specification, conspiracy to commit murder, aggravated burglary, and unlawful sexual contact with a minor, which was Hannah. He ends up with 23 charges in total. He told the police where to find the guns, what car they used that night, and that he himself shot 5 of the 8 victims. The prosecutor did say that Jake corroborated a lot of the evidence that they had. He also agreed to testify against his family, and by doing so, none of the Wagner family members have the death penalty on the table. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. 5 months later, in September of 2021, Angela also decided to take a plea deal. She pled guilty to conspiracy to commit aggravated murder, aggravated burglary, tampering with evidence, and several firearm charges. The aggravated murder charges for her were dropped, and she also agreed to a 30-year sentence with no chance of parole or early release before that, and she also agreed to testify against the remaining Wagner family. So George Wagner III and IV decided to take their cases to trial. George Wagner IV, his trial is set to begin at the making of this recording next week at the end of August of 2022. George Wagner III, his case is set to begin in October of 2022. August 8th of 2022, George Wagner IV's jury selection has begun, so his trial should be coming up in the next couple of weeks. As always, I will be covering his trial because honestly, I'm curious to know what Jake and Angela have to say. So I know one of the main things that his lawyer is arguing is that George Wagner IV never shot anybody. You still conspired with your family to commit this crime. You acted on a crime. You were there. Like, I'm interested to see how his lawyer plans on spinning a narrative. Like, are they going to use that because his family was so close that he felt bullied or pressured that he had to show up and be there for these crimes? I'm just really curious to see how the defense plans on saying that he's not guilty. Those are my thoughts so far. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you guys for all the new subscribers. Thank you guys if you made it to the end of the video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. And thank you. And I'm out.